Lots of folks are having fun with the new class, and it is very fun, but I'm still infatuated with Bard and Fighter. Ha! Some people think that the lantern shield is basically just a light source that can riposte the same way the longsword does. I'm here to tell you that while that's close to the truth, it's not the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth! I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom.
There are two different features to the lantern shield that I barely see anyone talk about. I've seen several really great videos from other content creators talking about how awesome the lantern shield is, and I'm glad other people are getting into it, and their content is frankly better than mine, but I don't see anybody talk about these two things. Let's get into it. There are two really important details I want to share here, and the one you may have already heard or seen is that the lantern shield can riposte once, switch to main hand, and then riposte a second time as long as you never let the combo sort of die or stop. There's some stuff right there for you, buddy. Alright, doing it. Sorry? Yeah, no. I tried the peaceful option. I'm not sorry at all. The second, apparently very secret function of the lantern shield riposte is that while you're riposting, you actually don't slow down. You know, most weapons, when you swing them, you slow down. When you riposte with the longsword, you slow down. This is just a feature you've probably seen so many times that you're just used to it. But the reality is that the lantern shield is the only weapon in the game that allows you to keep moving at your full movement speed value while you're attacking. Here, I'll give you some footage so you can see what I'm talking about. Did you
When
forget?
you get good, we'll fight.
There he is. really do. Okay, I think you guys get the point. Whenever you're riposting, you can move fast. But the fighter actually benefits doubly from this thanks to two perks. One is counterattack, and everybody uses it. The other, less intuitive bonus here is Shield Mastery, which helps you to make a quick attack after successfully blocking, but it also improves your speed by 10% when you have your shield raised. And much like Barricade, this perk activates while you're riposting. What this means is that the fighter doesn't just ignore the movement speed penalty for swinging a weapon, he actually speeds up quite a bit when riposting with the lantern shield, assuming he's got the right perks equipped. Now the Bard can't take advantage of these perks, but his base movement speed without plate will be much higher. And I would argue that the illuminatory effect is even more useful in the hands of a non-frontliner, since you can use the lantern shield like a spotlight from the rear of the squad, illuminating foes for your frontliner. I've already released a video talking about how you can boost certain abilities by stacking not just buff duration bonus, but also resourcefulness for the cooldown reduction bonus. Combine these effects on certain abilities, and you can make them nearly constant. With the recent buffs to several of the fighter abilities, I think I'll be running Breakthrough quite a bit, and perhaps I'll start running Taunt again. It's also very nice to see a buff to Healer Druid. The more healing there is in the dungeon, the more it makes sense to play a very tanky plate-wearing type of character. The other option for a frontliner is a barbarian, and while they have a lot of health, that also means it takes a lot of healing to restore them. Armor is very, very synergistic with any kind of healing at all, whether it's a potion or a healer character in the backlines. Furthermore, the spell Tree of Life is probably one of the most powerful spells in the game right now, and it should increase in duration if the fighter receiving the buff has a lot of extra buff duration bonus. If you're unaware, it used to be that Resourcefulness would grant exactly 5% regular interaction speed per point up until a soft cap of around 100% bonus. Nowadays, the regular interaction speed seems to be on a curve, giving roughly 3.5 or 3.75% regular interaction speed per point of resourcefulness. Anyway, the point is that if you want to improve your healing through bandages or surgical kits, resourcefulness is still a very good option for that, and will help you to cool down certain abilities like your taunt, or your breakthrough, or your adrenaline rush. What makes Adrenaline Rush unique to the other two abilities I just mentioned is that Adrenaline Rush only starts cooling down once the effect has completed. However, Taunt and Breakthrough start cooling down as soon as you apply the buff to yourself by pressing the ability button. This means that those abilities can be used near infinitely if you gear yourself properly. There are just a few points I wanted to make about the lantern shield before I end the video with some combat footage and let you guys go. The first is that the lantern shield is not as big as the heater shield. The second is that it doesn't have as much impact resistance as the heater shield. And the third, and this is the most important part, is that even the heater shield, which is the biggest and ostensibly most cumbersome one-handed shield in the game, will slow you down when you raise it, but it doesn't slow you down as much as the lantern shield will. The lantern shield robs you of roughly half of your movement speed whenever you raise it into the defensive position. That's why I carried the Pavis, right? The Pavis lets me advance upon ranged opponents or spellcasters without having to slow myself down nearly as much. The Pavis only slows you down about 30%, and it covers a much larger area, making you basically able to push any opponent in the game. The only penalty here is that I don't have a ranged weapon, but I kind of despise the ranged meta, so I don't mind that at all. Okay, there's one last point I wanted to make, and that's about the main hand weapon I use. The other YouTuber I saw using the lantern shield paired the arming sword with the lantern shield, and this was so that he could use the sword mastery perk, which is a very powerful perk, don't get me wrong. However, I think that I get just as much damage, if not more, out of the armor penetration on the Warhammer, and I massively prefer the Warhammer's attack animation to the arming sword. They're both really fast to swing, which is essential. No matter what you do, you cannot use a slow swinging weapon like a falchion in combination with the lantern shield. It just won't work. But I definitely prefer the Warhammer to the arming sword, and frankly, it ends up being cheaper on the market as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can build this however you want, but I suggest using high PDR because the lantern shield and whatever one-handed weapon you're pairing with it tends to not have great range. You gotta get in close and then stick to your opponent. And the lantern shield, its mobility really helps to alleviate a lot of the movement speed penalties associated with heavy plate items. If you found the video informative, please think about subscribing. It really does help. And I'll see you guys later. Enjoy the rest of the combat footage.